All right, what's going on? Special video today. Special guest. No, not you. Not you. The big dog, Mike from ConForms, Mike Cetnar from ConForms. What are we doing today, Mike? We're gonna repipe a boom?
Yeah, we've got a lot of new pump operators having issues with pipe, and I've asked you.
Even some old operators too.
That's true, because they're afraid to ask any questions. Guys have been struggling changing boom pipes. So, you know, I mentioned to Scott and Dan that we need to do a video changing boom pipe and give some guys some hints and some help, some little tips on what to look for while we're changing this. So we're gonna work on that today.
So just looking at this right now, Mike, my thought would be we start, so we're only, to clarify, we did the turret on this pump a couple months ago, so we're only going from the first elbow out of the turret to the tip of the boom. My thought is we start on the main section, on the A section, we knock all that out. We work on the start of the B section in the cradle as well. Okay. And then, actually we could easily do the entire B section in the cradle as well as C. And then I think it's easier for section 5 that we unfold it. And arguably section 4, I don't know, it just be then we're not at a we're not working at height.
Yeah, 4 and 5 would probably be better.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3 in the cradle. We'll unfold to do 4 and 5, and it should be easy peasy. So
we're gonna unfold it anyway. I would just do 3, 4, and 5. That way you got nice solid ground to stand on.
You know, with the RZ though, you're gonna like this stand with the RZ. That third section, actually, you can't get it down very low. See, with your double Z, that wouldn't be a problem. He loves that. He loves that figure. Okay, so we'll get up there, start pulling up the stuff apart. And Mike, I understand you brought some of your fancy tools for measuring pipe.
Oh, I did. So if we see anything that looks a little funky or weird, or we'll just test something when we got some stuff on the ground, maybe at the end of the day, you know, because we're going to be focusing on changing pipe. But we'll do that sometime today. We'll measure a few things and just kind of take a look at it and go over how to measure stuff.
So fun fact, this is original pipe. This is a 2017 model, original pipe. I calculated it's got about 60,000 cubic meters of concrete through it. Our concrete here is very gentle, and our pipe lasts a lot longer than a lot of other areas.
75,000
yards?
75, 80,000 cubic yards?
Yeah. So we've seen some of the heavier twin wall 325 pipe go 100,000 meters here. But it really depends on what we're doing with it too. But on this little pump, he's not really pumping hard all that often, and it's low meterage. That being said, he does plug into line and into system a lot, so the pressures are probably pretty high. So maybe that offsets it. But everything is original. So looking at this boom, before we pull stuff apart and then measure, what would you suspect would be the high wear areas from your experience? The high wear pipes.
I get tons of calls on crossovers, like the crossover here,
the one that passes right to the boom here.
Right. Any crossover is a horrible wear area, and guys will call me mad all the time that their pipe is wore out. Every crossover on every pump wears faster than everything else, and it's one of those areas. It's one of the areas that you got to keep a closer eye on than anything else on this truck. So guys get mad and they want me to replace it. I'm like, doesn't matter what pipe you put on here, it's going to wear faster than the rest of the truck. So it's definitely an area where flipping the bends there, rotating that pipe, you know, doing your pipe maintenance is greatly going to benefit you in your wear.
So that's what I was going to say. Remember we talked about on the live stream about flipping and rotating pipes, and the general determination was, with the cost of labor these days, overall it wasn't worth it. But I agree, same as you, for some of those high wear areas, it is worth doing.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. You know, high wear areas like the crossover, always the crossover needs to be, you know, looked at.
I would think this pipe, that short makeup is going to be high wear. That
this is a little different. You don't see this on too many trucks, but this is definitely going to be another area that I bet when we pull these 45s with the 2 tangents on it and that pipe, that it's going to look funky. And we'll take a look at that when we get there. Maybe we'll spend a minute, you know, taking a look at it. You know,
what is the theory to the tangent elbow? Is it because coming out of an elbow, the first 6 inches of the pipe would always be prone to wear, so now they want to do it in a thicker elbow material?
Well, that's some of it, but the rest of it is everything likes to move. More clamps, so the more potential for movement. And the more movement in your pipe, the more chance it is to break. And we're going to talk about how this pipe
extended
grows.
elbow, tangent elbow, they call that.
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk about how this pipe grows and what we mean by that when we're pulling this apart and show you some examples.
You know what I don't like about the tangent elbows? The price. Man, or even some of the little, like,
proud of those.
Even the 10-degree elbows.
Yeah.
Before they use the tangent elbows, they use a lot more like the little pie slice elbows, and some of them are almost double the price of a 90-degree elbow. And I guess it just comes down to production.
Right. It's about how many we build, and you know, like on this truck, there's probably 5 of those tangent 45s, and there's probably one on the deck here.
Yes.
So there's like 5 or 6 on this truck. So, you know, there's a lot more of those than, you know, if there was a little 10-degree or something to correct, there might be one. So, you know, when we look at our history, or, you know, we're making them in the shop, we might sell 4 or 5 10-degree elbows a month, or we might sell 150 of these, you know, dual tangent, you know, 45. So we make them at scale. You know, it's faster for making them at scale. And when we're making 5 of these 10 degrees, you know, one guy's putting them in a fixture and welding them up. We don't have a super fast procedure, you know, and all the tooling, you know, to make those super fast all the time, because we don't need to.
Production efficiency, right?
That's what it is.
Okay, well, maybe we'll start pulling things apart, and we'll run over, and when I say we, the other couple guys will start pulling things apart if they don't tell us to go stuff it, and we'll look at the pipe we're putting on and talk a bit about that. So we have these gaskets. We kind of forgot, we ordered a full pipe kit and forgot to order gaskets. Those are basically a swivel. We just use them everywhere now, right?
Right. This is the gasket I like to use all over the truck. They have ones with a cavity in it where this little V groove is not in the center. These gaskets, and it's actually a ConForms gasket. Yeah.
Imagine that.
These slide right over the end, and I can slide them back, especially when I'm trying to hold this and put a clamp on. The cavity gaskets like to grab the weld end. There is a T gasket with a little flap inside them. It's designed to take up the space between.
I hate those.
I hate them too.
The first thing I do is cut the T out of it with an X-Acto knife.
The first thing I do is throw them away and put some different gaskets on.
That too.
Yeah,
That too.
I hated them. I understand what their purpose is, but I always hate them.
I found these cavity gaskets. Oh no! Oh, that's the same one.
This is a swivel.
So
too.
the one that doesn't have the rib in the middle,
Yep.
even on the straight pipe sections, they tend to swell. And then if I pull the pipe apart on site or whatever, for whatever reason, when I'm in a hurry and under pressure, go to put it back, it's like the gasket has swollen and it sits really loose. These ones
the cavity fills up with grout and it pushes it out a little bit more. And like I said, they grab the end when you're trying to do stuff one-handed. If any of you, all of you have probably changed some pipe. When they grab the end and you're trying to pull it off there and you're fighting it and holding the pipe up with one knee and putting a clamp on to try to get it, the cavity gasket seems to always be in the wrong spot. So I use this. It's one part in your inventory. They really don't cost anymore, or, you know, it's negligible. And you have one part. You don't have to worry about, I have this gasket and I have that gasket. Just buy one gasket.
Yeah, it's so much easier, so much better.
Oh, he's starting it.
We got lots of them. A lot. So this is our pipe, ConForm twin wall 325. What do you call it now? Is it called Endurance?
Yeah, we've branded it with names. This is an Endurance pipe.
So this is your heaviest pipe.
Our thickest.
Thickest pipe.
Thickest pipe in the industry.
In the industry.
Yeah.
There we go. And we had these, they were painted at Alliance. We ordered it through Alliance. But the weld-on ends, all the makeup pipes, these were all done at your factory in Wisconsin.
That's right.
And you guys have a very specific procedure that's quite critical for doing the makeup pipes for the welding.
When you twin wall pipe is through hardened, so the carbon, the chemistry of it's really weird. So when you introduce heat on the weld, if you're too hot on this weld, it wrecks underneath here. So when you wear out the pipe and it's wore out in this area, then that's potentially a heat issue because this weld got too hot. So this pipe is almost completely full of water when we're welding this. That helps control the heat. We also have a proprietary method, you know, of welding, as well as a special treatment that goes in between everything that helps absorb heat and reduce heat loss.
So we got all the straight pipes, all the makeups, all the other makeups here. So that's our pipes. We went with the heaviest possible boom pipe. thickest. Sorry, thickest. I keep saying that.
Same weight.
Yeah. Same weight, just the thickest. The idea is should be 90 to 100,000 meter pipe in our market easily, if not more, which honestly will get us through the life cycle of this pump. It'll get us 10 years. That pump pumps about 7,500 to 9,000 cubic meters a year, and we'll have it for another 10 years, maybe longer, who knows. So yeah, we put that good pipe on and we don't ever have to worry about it again. This is the one I posted on Instagram that we found. See the problem? Do you think this was hit with a hammer maybe?
Well, when I see a chunk taken out like this, especially with the ridge here, this looks like it was hit quite a few times to fracture it. If I saw that it was all worn through here and it was even, then I'd say we wore a little bit through here. We wore that out, right, and it got cracked, or it was bouncing in the saddle or hit, and it, you know, that chunk came out.
It's
you can
still
see
quite
all the
thick
cracks
here. Yeah, it's still quite thick. It's very thick on this end.
So one of the things, let's go back to the cracks a second. So when we see this crack here created a little island. See how it's a little island here? This crack here is another island. These will peel out. If I see a single crack running down it, I'm not worried at all. But once it creates little islands, the concrete and grout will get underneath there and peel that out. Once it peels that out, this outer layer will wear super fast and it will die a horrible death.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And the story with this elbow was the pipe system was installed in the pump probably 5 years ago. About a month in, I think the operator might have run to grab a sandwich on a hot day, came back, boom, full of mud. Well, they were back at the yard and they had to pull everything apart. Right. And some things I'm quite certain probably did get hit with hammers. And I think that's the story.
It's a little bit flattened here, you know, but
this was the first one out of the turret. So when they pull it apart, often they'll take the hammer and just knock it to swivel it back down.
Right.
I'll usually hold like a block of wood against it and tap the wood, never directly on the elbow. But I'm assuming that didn't happen. So that's, yeah, an example of what not to do. Okay.
Nice and clean.
Moment of truth. Let's see if the operator did his job. See how your water wash worked, right? He didn't really water wash. Oh, yeah. There we go. Nice and clean. Okay. A near indispensable tool for cleaning the ends of pipes and gaskets. Goodson Carbide Super Scraper. This thing is the cat's ass. There we go. Usually we'll just give the end a light little tap to get rid of the buildup, and then give her a scrape with the Super Scraper, and we're good to go. A little cumbersome doing this with one hand. And what I do on the outside of the gasket, I don't use grease. I find that just makes a mess. What I do just a little blast of this stuff. WD-40 works well too. Gasket. There we go. We go in with a new pipe.
as you can see, the guys are changing one section at a time. Please don't take all the pipe off your truck and then reboom it. We're doing one section at a time. We're starting and working as we go. Some guys like to remove the whole thing. That's fine, but I prefer to do it just as these guys are. To pull the 90 off for access, changing this pipe, they're gonna get that kind of secured so it's in the right spot, and they're just gonna continue working down the boom.
Yeah, I guess if you pull everything off, and especially if you have the boom stretched out, you're removing all that weight from the boom, it's going to kind of unsettle and maybe not be as easy to go back together. Would that be fair to say?
Well, that's part of it, but then the guys don't know what goes where. They make a big pile of pipe and then they go, oh crap, what went where? So a lot of times our boom support brackets are really close to where the clamp goes, and sometimes it's not. Like in this truck, they're spaced out right there on the main boom. So the guys sometimes will, you know, put the wrong pipe in the wrong spots, and then they get to the end and realize they didn't put the puzzle together right. So when we're doing this one at a time, we can pull that off. We can put a tape on it and go 3,000 millimeters, you know, 118 and an 8, go over and get a 3-meter pipe, put that back in place, and we just keep working our material and not having to guess what goes where.
And when we put these pipes in, as far as the pipe retaining straps, we're just going to do them very, very loosely, and then we'll do a final torque on everything after. What we like to do is unfold the boom, bring it back in the cradle once, sometimes twice, and then we'll go around and torque all the boom straps, the pipe straps to spec.
Right.
That's how we've always done it. Right.
And I've got people that, you know, that don't do that either. You know, this pipe will grow as it again, we'll go over that in a little bit when we're stretched out and we can see that a little better and why that happens. But we'll go over some of that. But I like that too, because it allows the pipe to kind of flex and bend and get in the right spot in the bracket.
Find where it wants to sit.
Right. And then we torque it down. I have the torque specs for the pipe straps on this and Schwing U-bolts. They're in my backpack. When we get down to the ground and are working on it a little better, we'll talk about that, because it's a problem over tightening these. It's a little bit harder to over tighten on Putzmeister and the Alliance style straps on these booms. The Schwings are really bad because they're U-bolts generally, and the guys will just go after it with an impact gun.
I'll make sure that we put the pipe in order so that when we go through and test it, we can actually remember where the high wear areas were.
Gotcha.
Important notes for next time. But yeah, I would say maybe the most important thing we'll talk about today is the torque on those pipe straps for twin wall pipe.
Right. These have a lower spec. You know, it's 1 bolt. It's kind of easy to tighten these down. Whereas the Schwing ones, like I said, the U-bolts get covered in concrete, same as these bolts here. But the guys just hit them with impact guns because sometimes they really are hard to get off. And it's too much. And if you over tighten it, you could break the inner lining and damage the pipe. So when I'm looking at guys when they're telling me their pipe didn't last, and I see, you know, where a U-bolt was and that's where it broke inside, that's what happened. It broke it.
If we find a crappy pipe come off of there, I'm such a hoarder. I mean, we're never going to reuse this stuff anyhow, but we find one that's like really crappy, like dumpster crappy. Maybe for fun, we'll just tighten the hell out of a bracket and film inside and try and show what it does. That would actually be cool.
It might be hard on these straps, but yeah, the U-bolts are definitely
U-bolts definitely. Yeah, if you're tightening your straps or U-bolts and you start to hear snap, crackle, pop, it may be too late. It may be too late. So like I said, we put these back. I'm going to mark these. So this is the first pipe on the main boom section. So I'm going to call it A1, and this is the second pipe, A2. Like I said, we'll come back and measure all this stuff. And then we can learn a little bit about where the high wear prone areas are on these pipes, hopefully. Having a zoom boom to do this is just a luxury, not a necessity. For years we did this all by hand. What we'll do with the old boom kit is we'll leave it all together on a pallet, and if we ever end up in a situation where for whatever reason we lose a set of pipe, God forbid, we've got a backup set we can throw on it while we wait for a new one to arrive. So if we can see there, oh yeah, you can't miss that.
You see the spiral in there?
Oh yeah, you can hear. Let me lift one up. Yeah, you can sell. I'll hold it for you. I'll hold it for you and you can explain. What do we got?
If you look down there, you can see all the little, it's like little circles. And when it goes through the heat treating, it rotates, but it doesn't maintain even heat because the heat source is on the bottom. So as it goes up to the top, you wouldn't think it cools, but it cools enough that it creates different hardnesses. So when you heat treat it, you see the guy with the blacksmith, you know, putting it in the forge and then banging it with a hammer and then putting it in the forge and then he dunks it in the water. Well, that helps align all the molecules so that you get a good pattern, you know, for the heat treating and wear. It aligns all the carbon molecules right. So when this goes through, you can see the carbon molecules move a little bit differently and it creates the bands. And those little ridges are hard spots. So the concrete goes over it like a little roller coaster and it wears in the soft spots. Because concrete likes to travel with the cream on the outside, create a boundary layer, and goes through it nice and smooth on straight pipe. But on this one, the boundary layer is constantly being shifted, so it's wearing the pipe in weird ways. And we see random failures on this pipe in weird spots. So if you guys pumped hard and fast and you have this pipe on there, it'll fail much faster and in weird spots than if something that's not doing pipe as fast.
Well, you can really see the spiral, even if I get the right angle here on the outside too. And that's just the outer mild layer following suit from the inner, or is that the hardening process gets all the way through and affects the outside too?
Well,
like, do they harden it after it goes in, or they build it and then they would insert it?
Yeah,
typically.
Yeah.
Typically, okay. So when you guys harden yours, you're obviously not doing the spiral thing without giving too much away?
Well, it's done in a couple different ways. Esser has, you know, their proprietary way of doing it, but it's about keeping even heat around the pipe as we go. Like when we're doing pipe in the shop, we have a giant electromagnetic coil. It's a giant block, and in the center it's hollow, and it creates such an electromagnetic current and generates heat that it heats that pipe up from cool to red hot in seconds. And then since it's all the way around the perimeter, we've got like a little mushroom shaped cooling wand that shoots water back after it's, you know, goes through there to evenly, you know, cool it. So heat treating is a big deal on how it's processed.
I think that's the one. That's the one that's going to be a party.
Well, even that elbow we just took off, you could feel.
Oh, was it pretty hogged out feeling? Where did we put that one that we just took off? Let's see what we got for wear here. Oh yeah. I wish I had Carol. Yeah, that liner was getting pretty thin.
Yeah.
What do you say? It's time for something like that? Pretty damn close, right?
Yeah. You can feel there's a little bit, you know, there's some lips and ridges in there.
Yeah.
You know, and usually we look for the circle here. We look for a good concentric circle all the way around. And what we'll often find is it's thinner in certain areas. So depending
right there on this one.
And we can feel, you know, you can feel that it's not even.
Right.
You know, on the edge here. Sometimes it'll be hard to see, but you can see down here, we definitely have a washed out area, which, you know, it's gonna eat that area out. So I'm guessing I don't think we can get our calipers, we can't get our calipers in that far, but if we tested that, it's definitely gonna be way thinner.
What does the other side look like? I'm assuming it's been marked right there. Yeah, this would have been the inlet side where it was positioned on that boom, and the outlet side is, yeah, not, well, let's see. I'll clean it up with it. Oh no, it's
a little thinner on this side.
Yeah.
And we can see, you know, a little bit more wear there. You can kind of see a little change in the metal tone, but it's definitely thinner. And we can see a little bit of chipping at the edge here.
Yeah. Let's compare it to a new one. Now this will be, it's a different brand, so it might not be totally apples to apples, but yeah, so you see the thickness of a new one compared to the one that came off. Yeah, I would say it was time. It was time to get rid of that.
I mean, like I said, we're looking for a good concentric circle here. And if you see excessive wear on one side or the other, on this elbow where it was, if we flip it and the other side looks good, we can flip that elbow. And that's a little transition, that little jog out there is one of those trouble spots that we would benefit, because the one side looks worse than the other on this. That if we flip that, we'll get more life out of it, and you know, you won't be replacing it as often. So again, it's one of two trouble spots potentially on this truck that we want to pay a little bit of attention to.
And unfortunately, it's the most expensive elbow. But if it were just a regular 45 and then straight into a makeup pipe, arguably the makeup pipe might take more of a beating, but the makeup pipe is a lot less expensive than those. But I guess it's all about time and labor and everything else too.
Well, it's also, every clamp we have on here allows for more movement and more stretching, you know, when the pipe grows.
Oh, okay.
So all of it is, this doesn't move, you know, it can only potentially change a little bit at the ends.
Is it only Putzmeister that's using the tangent elbows now, or does anybody else use them?
I've not seen these on any other manufacturer's rigs right now. They also make a 30 degree with the tangents on it like this on select trucks.
Oh, okay.
Again, I only see that on Putzmeister rigs.
I want to go look at that little short pipe. He took it away so fast. I'm going to look and see that little short makeup. Okay, so let's see the short pipe that I was most concerned about. Oh yeah, it's pretty dished out.
You can kind of see the hardness bands in this too a little bit. It's a little harder to see than the bigger pipe.
It's funny, it's not, I mean, the caliper will tell the story. It's actually not as thin as I was expecting it to be.
No, it actually doesn't look too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we can see some dishing here. You know, you can see the different changes in the shading, and that's because of the different depths here. But it actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it would be.
And the area where it looks like it's the thinnest, dished the most, is below the flange. But still, I think once it starts to dish, it increases exponentially the wear. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, because the boundary, you know, like I said, it likes to travel. Concrete likes to travel with the cream on the outside, and every little bump and turn,
it just
messes the rocks up inside.
Amplifies the wear.
And
I better write. Did Mike write? Mike wrote A3. Okay, good. So boom section A, pipe 3. Now the next one will be good too. That was the one I'm second most, maybe first most concerned about actually. So these pipes are so clean because when he had the pump out yesterday, we had him suck back 4 sponges with about 10 gallons of water between each one.
And I actually told Scott if it was filthy or whatever, I'd shame him on something.
That's true too. But it does make it so much easier for testing because you're not trying to wipe a layer of cream off to get your caliper in there. We normally don't suck that many sponges.
Which one do you need? Another 45?
Are all these 40? This is a third 45, isn't it?
Nope, nope. That's the one you want.
Looks different than the other one we put on. The welds are different.
It's just a different manufacturer, and it's probably heavier because it's a different brand. But that's 100% the one.
Okay. Actually, let's change this pipe first anyway. Otherwise, we don't have anything connected to it. We'll just pull down.
That's the one. I bet you the end of that pipe is going to be toast where it feeds into the elbow. I bet you it's going to be one of the prime suspects, the major offenders of the day. I would bet is that one. So in theory, having a boom, there would just be straight pipes, elbows, straight pipes, elbows, is probably going to be better in terms of wear than having a lot of jogs.
Yeah, the term used is turbulence.
Turbulence.
So again, concrete likes to travel with the cream on the outside, the rocks gravitate to the middle. Every change in ID, so if you have new pipe and old pipe, every little bump makes that boundary layer disrupt and the rocks tumble. That's the turbulence. So we want to have all new pipe, or you know, when we change a boom, we don't want to change it little pieces here and there. If we do change out a piece, it's entirely possible that it's going to wear in a funky way in that area. But with all the bends and stuff, we constantly disrupt the boundary layer, the rocks tumble, and we wear out stuff, you know, really funny. So again, a lot more bends, a lot more curves as this, and swings and Putzmeisters with these 45s. We have potential high wear areas that we need to pay a little extra attention to. If you've had the truck a while, you'll know, hey, that elbow wears out funky. I got to go up there and check it. Again, you know, that's a pipe maintenance thing that we talked about. You know, pipe maintenance will greatly increase your wear on your truck. But, you know, sometimes guys just don't do it because they don't find value in it because of their labor rates and stuff. But if you know the spots of trouble, hey, might as well change it, because that one downtime when you blow that elbow saves you all the money that you worried about, you know, doing any pipe.
Probably the most embarrassing, highest liability thing that can happen on a job site, especially for us, because we're not pumping through a 5-inch hose. We're plugged into a smaller tip hose or plugged into a bunch of systems. So if a pipe does pop, it's shooting 75 feet in every direction.
Yeah. And you guys are doing a lot of work in the city where there's a lot of people, cars, and, you know, and it doesn't blow somewhere where it just messes your truck up.
Yeah.
It blows and fans out all over stuff that you're like, oh man, that's gonna cost me.
Yeah, I think if you're an owner operator guy and you're just coming in on your days off, or slow days off, but your slow days to rotate pipe and doing it yourself, then maybe it's a different story. But when you're paying labor to do it, from a business standpoint, it could be tough to justify, in my opinion.
Yeah, pipe maintenance will definitely save you time and money and give you more life out of your boom kit. But like I said, some guys don't find value in it because of the labor rates and the time.
Well, luckily Dan's here for free today. I might have to buy him lunch, but he barely snickered.
And if you've ever seen Dan eat, you got to keep your hands and fingers away from him while he's eating.
He says that I eat too much. The guy go a whole day on him.
I don't know about eating too much, but Dan will leave nothing on his plate if it's a good meal. And I wish we had video of the
for all the days
had.
he goes 16 hours on a bag of corn nuts. I've seen it. He'd be a shoo-in on Survivor. He'd be a ringer.
I'd get voted off right away.
Oh shoot, Mike took the pipe away. We were so busy yakking. Okay, I'm gonna go look at that one, because that's the one I think it's gonna be like I said, a prime offender. Okay, let's see what we got. Shoot, you know what? It's actually not bad. Oh, okay, no, it's thin on this end for sure. Which was the inlet end. Yeah, this was the inlet. We've rotated this one a couple times, but it's definitely thin there. How does it feel?
And just what you're doing right now is what I recommend a lot of people do. You know, I mean, it might look okay, but feel it.
Yeah.
Even with thin gloves on, you can feel, you know, the differences in it. And again, when we're testing this later, we're going to look for these differences, and that's where we're going to test it, because this is probably the thinnest spot, and it definitely looks like it washes out here, and you can see the spiral pattern still. But, you know, I'm going to want to check this, because this is going to be thicker here than it is here, but the lowest number is the thinnest spot, and that's the number we have to use when we're testing.
It's funny, it's not as bad as I thought. From what we've seen come off so far, for us, it's just a case of we've put 60,000 meters through it. It's been 7 to 8 years. It's done its time. Could we maybe push it for a couple more? We'll see when we get everything off the pump. It's possible, but it's just peace of mind. We repipe this in for us what's going to be a 10-year pipe system, and we don't worry about it for 10 years. Yes, we will still check it. We'll do our regular checks just to do our diligence, but there's not that stress. So it's a lot of money.
Here
but
in Canada, especially in BC, they want you to do a frequent inspection on these trucks, which is a monthly inspection.
That's what, yeah.
And you don't have to test everything, but they want you to test some of it, you know, to have some type of record on how things are going. So, you know, you're going to check it anyway.
So for us, when I mentioned that pipe had been rotated a couple times, that's exactly what Mike's saying there. When we do our monthly inspection, we pull it apart to do our test. Typically we will at least spin the pipe 90 or 180 degrees and maybe flip it end for end, because we have it apart anyhow and we're required to do so. But even once a month definitely gives you opportunity to keep an eye on those high wear areas, and it does unveil some surprises here and there, like the one pipe that we did change out a couple of years ago. We caught that one on a monthly inspection, just pulling it apart and having a visual looking inside of it. So
I will say, one of the things I like about the Putzmeister and the Alliance style pipe straps is that when you take it off, you don't have a U-bolt and washers and nuts and spacers everywhere, because guys will start setting those everywhere and you lose stuff as you do things. So if you can keep this organized and your parts and everything, you know, good, you don't have trouble. I mean, boom parties are really bad because they throw the U-bolts and nuts and washers everywhere, and because you're just worried about trying to get the pipe off as fast as you can. But it's nice that everything's contained there, so you don't really have to worry about it. You just loosen it up, get the strap off, put it back on, you can tighten it back up.
Yeah, the nut and the washer will actually, yeah, they'll stay on the strap. You just back it off a few turns till it's loose, pop it out, and like Mike's saying, everything is right there. What do you find with it for the U-bolt style for torquing it down? It must be pretty critical to torque in intervals side to side rather than cranking on one side and then going straight to the other. Well, it would be a bit of a procedure.
I have the actual engineering document from Schwing, and it talks about tightening the two bottom bolts. Then it talks about tightening the bolts, you know, on the U-bolt on the other side of the pipe support bracket, tightening them down, you know, on the opposite side, which actually I didn't think about that all that much, you know, doing it all the years I have. So it actually says to do both.
And you'll see we've replaced on this pump, it's some of the swivel joints. We put in 2-bolt clamps.
Oh, I love those way better than
yeah, I find the gaskets last longer. We actually have one for the tip elbow on this. We haven't done it. I'm undecided on that, especially on this pump. We do so much work hooking into line. You do one day pumping through 300 feet of hose, and regardless of what you do, that tip swivel is going to be grouted up.
Right.
So for us having the snap clamp, it's just easier maintenance. But all the other areas, we've definitely benefited from having the bolt together clamps. Okay, first boom section is done. First pipe off on section 2. And the next one of concern or suspicion, the short crossover passing through that. It'd be interesting to pull that one off and just see how it looks. So Dan, on those ones, you're just snugging them barely. Okay.
Oh, 15 foot-pounds what you want?
I think it's lower, but I was going to leave them even lower, like barely more than hand tight, and then we're going to unfold the boom and then fold it back up so the pipes can still shift.
Yeah, I guess my hand tight might be different from some other people's too.
Well, your hands are huge, so, which is weird that I mentioned that. That got strange. But yeah, we'll just so that they obviously the straps don't fall out of the retaining brackets, but yeah, leave them loose.
Which way slide from?
Would actually like for doing up pipe straps, I have a little short stubby 3/8 ratchet, and then you really would have to try super hard to over tighten them. We'll go around with a torque wrench anyhow. We'll do it the right way. But yeah, stubby ratchet is always nice. Limits the power. Oh, I guess they paint the pipes on the boom at the factory. Right? Interesting. So let's see this one. Oh, this one's got some interesting stuff going on. See those pock marks in there?
That's some of the accelerated wear from the spiral heat treating. You can kind of see, you know, where that turbulence definitely affected this because it's a shorter pipe.
Yeah, there's some pretty good pock marks right mid pipe. Interesting. Okay. That one would suck to blow too, because that's the crossover through the boom. It actually passes. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, this one will be interesting to test. I think she's going to be thin. Even despite the pock marks overall, I think it's going to be thin.
I don't know. I mean, it feels pretty good at the mouth here, you know, which isn't too bad. I don't feel any too bad at dishing. You can see a little bit here, but I think, you know, again, the spiral heat treat pattern is causing that weird wear, and that's why I said it would fail in a bad spot. And like I said, you can see that weird wear. You're not going to see that generally in pipe that's heat treated differently.
Right halfway through is the couple pock marks, right about there. Interesting.
That's how these would fail. You can kind of see it. You see the hardness? Those are hardness bands.
Yeah.
The wear, and you see how it's wearing the little spots.
Well, we really saw that in, I think it was the first batch of the 56.
The deck pipe, you'll really see it, but it's so thick.
Yeah,
it doesn't do it.
yeah.
But the deck pipe is wild. It's a roller coaster. You know what it looks like?
It's really weird.
Yeah, it looks like it's really thin right off that collar.
Yeah, yeah, I said
Right?
I
But you
feel it.
also, that's an angle pipe, so
Yeah.
it's coming in. It's gonna
Right.
wear this
Again,
out
it's
quick.
turbulence at the openings because of the, going through the ends. Or going through the ends.
Dan, what do you think so far? How's it all lining up?
Oh, it's all lining up great.
I wish I caught on camera the pipe going through the boom, the crossover. But everything's, you know, having to wrestle with anything.
No, we just pushed it through. Well, it's not connected on this side yet. It's ready after we change that elbow down.
I was saying, and I wish I could have found it. I have a little 3/8 stubby ratchet, and whenever I would do up boom pipe straps, I would choke up on it. And basically, however tight I could get it choked up was actually pretty close to the torque spec. That being said, you should still use a torque wrench, and Mike will go over that later. But yeah, it was a handy little tool. I can't find it now. I don't know what the heck happened to it. So we're making good time now. I think we are. What are we doing? Are we unfolding now? Is that what's going on? Okay, we'll unfold to get the rest of this stuff. Do you need me to show you how to run a Putzmeister, Dan? The icons make way too much sense. That's the problem. It's not ergo too. Things actually look like what they correlate to.
Except it shuts off all by itself.
Does it? Oh, that one. Yeah, the battery contacts are dirty.
This one, no, because when you put it on this hook and it bends down, then it pushes this down.
Oh, so he
E-stop.
had the e-stop down.
Yeah, so when you do this, start playing with it.
So Dan pushed the e-stop down.
Yeah.
Rookie move.
Yeah.
Rookie.
Trying to get them their hours.
It's because it's an RZ. That's why.
Messing
If it was a
everything up.
double Z, that wouldn't have happened. This is going together pretty quick. I mean, I guess there's only 3 guys on it. The other 3 are just watching. I'm just excited with how shiny it is. Man. That is what I like about, we got the pipe from Alliance. It's ConForm pipe. We ordered it through Alliance, and Alliance will paint it at their facility. So you end up with a really nice paint finish. Which is nice on the pipe, because if you have like a more of a matte finish, it just gets dirtier. It's like, it traps all the dirt. It's like Velcro. It's like Velcro for dirt. With a nice glossy paint, we just give her a pressure wash once a month, and most of it just peels right off of there. It's a beautiful thing. You feel like the old pipe is still nice and heavy, then you pick up the comparable new pipe, and you're like, no, it's not really. It's just.
Yeah, it's,
And this one's actually in pretty good shape on the ends. Yeah, there's just so much more meat on these when they're new. And now we'll just unfold this thing. The last half of section C as well as sections D and E are much easier to access with the boom unfolded. Some booms with longer sections, maybe trying to reinstall the pipes with it unfolded, possibly could not be the best idea. Things start flexing and shifting and moving. But for this pump, I think it'll be just fine. It's got 5 short little sections on it, so. Am I the only weirdo that likes the handle symmetrical?
Yes.
They all have to point in the 3 o'clock position, 3 p.m. position. Talking about the handles on the clamps. Drives me crazy if they're not symmetrical. Oh, yeah. Good job, boys. Oh, that one needs help, but. And this one we fold up. 95%, well, 85% of the time we're running a 3-inch or smaller. So we leave the hose and the reducers on and fold up. I get so many comments in the video about using, or my videos about using a short 5-inch hose and then reducing down. I just don't like having elbow rubber, then reducers hanging. Added weight, I don't like having rubber between reducers. That's just my personal preference. So Mike, what are your thoughts? I get a lot of comments in the videos, mostly a lot of guys in Europe that recommend running a short 5-inch double-ended stubby and then the reducers and leaving it on the boom. My concern is tip weight on the boom, the added weight.
Well, back in the day, these things were built like tanks. I mean, I think and the old late 80s swings were like 80,000 pounds for a 36 meter. Now they're like 50,
yeah,
you know, or something crazy. So they've dropped a ton of weight, and that ton of weight is in the boom construction and, you know, some of the chassis. But these tip sections are really, really thin now. You and I can pick up that tip section without pipe on it with no problem. Not much of an effort. So yeah, that tip section is really, really thin. So it is important to watch the tip weight. So that 5-inch pipe is, or 5-inch hose is going to be full of concrete.
I just find it's also not ideal going steel, rubber, steel if you don't have to.
The rubber's going to wear funny at all the ends and where all the hose bodies are. And when you calculate tip weight, it's supposed to be this whole thing full weight of concrete. So, you know, the more stuff we put on there, the heavier it becomes.
Okay, I wish I knew the math offhand, but 10-foot 3-inch hose, 5 to 4 reducer, 4 to 3 reducer. I've studied the ConForm catalog enough. I should know, but I can't recall offhand.
We used to have a spreadsheet that used to be able to calculate tip weight, and I don't know if I have it.
I just go through the catalog now and add it all up.
Yeah, the engineering guys might.
But that's going to be about, off the top of my head, 200-ish pounds of gear hanging filled with concrete. But before I publish the video, I'm going to calculate it out, and I'll tell you exactly what it is, right?
The gear boom is 350 pounds?
They vary from 210 to what's odd enough is that the 38 meter at the Canadian Concrete Expo this year had a tip rating of 440 pounds, which I've never seen before. This one is 365.
Right.
But the one at the show was 440, so I don't know if that was a revision from just a revised calculation or if they changed something.
Yeah.
365 on this one, Dan. Yeah, we're here. So we've got this hook, a crane type hook. Have you noticed a lot of times guys are using those carabiners that are rated for like 500 pounds in this application? Because then we never came up with an exact number, but that weight, let's say it's 250 pounds and it drops 3 feet. If that clamp were to let go, it drops 3 feet. The actual load rating on that, what is 300 pounds becomes like what, like 2,000 or something?
It's like times 10 almost.
So yeah, those little carabiners you get at the auto parts store are they're not suitable. They're not rated, but I see them used often.
There may be carabiners and stuff like that that are quick connect that are weight rated, but I mean, you're going to spend a lot on them, and you can see how this is covered in concrete a little bit.
Yeah,
got a little bit of wear, you know, and mostly just for being out in the open. Yeah, you're right. That's a safety concern that some of these things that guys are using are not rated, you know, for the weight. And again, something bad happens here, this is what they're going to look at, and they're going to say, why'd you use that? You know, what's the rating on that? And if you can't support it, it's going to make you look bad.
The rule is a strap between anything hanging.
You know, we're trying to make sure our clamps are pinned, and I'm really proud of you, Scott. You know, these are all pinned.
I'm sorry it's not a ConForm clamp.
Doesn't. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, we see the pins here, which are awesome, because this is one of the few things the safety guys go, hey, there's no pin in your clamp. You know, but the guys don't.
I like these pins because when the clamps wear a little bit and the hole isn't aligned perfectly, I find they're a little bit more forgiving for getting them in and out than the conventional, just like the spring-loaded regular.
Well, some of these
pin.
are easier to work with the gloves on too, because they generally have gloves on all the time.
Yeah, I have a couple videos where I've put the part number, and I'll try and get a part number for these, and I'll show that too. But we really do enjoy these pins versus the. Do we have any on the boom clamps on this thing? Oh, here's one. Versus these guys. These guys do the job, but I find when the clamps start to wear a little bit, especially the clamps are being taken on and off a lot, it can be tough to get the actual pin through. So I do like those ones.
Whole
Here's the thumbnail right here. 5 guys.
Put the rubber around that side.
We're fishing to get trolled here. 5 guys. Well, 6. It's a 6-man job. 2 of us are in management.
Put the rubber.
It's pretty badass the way you got that clamp on, Dan.
Trained professional. Trained professional.
Only 2 more sections to go. Woohoo!
Safety pins, Mike took them out.
What do you got, Mike? What do you got there?
Okay, this is where we talk about pipe growing. So when this is in place, when this is in place here, you can see this gray ring of concrete. It's all the way around, and sometimes when we pull this off, the gray ring will stay on there. So these ends don't usually fit face to face, and if they do, you know, the grout gets in here, and the clamp is wider than that. So the clamp will, you know, is wider, so the grout will get in here and push this, and it fills in the space. So that gap gets filled in with this grout. And that's why we talk about pipe growing. So if all this pipe is super tight inside here, there's no room for it to grow, but it will push its way in there because of the pressure of the pump. So this is something we got to watch. If everything's super duper tight and we got to fight everything to get it in, our pipe is probably too long, and it'll cause forces and push on these returns, you know, on our swivel elbows, and our swivel elbows will constantly get wore out all the time. So we want to watch when we're putting it all together that we're not beating everything into place, and that, you know, it'll allow that little bit of growth.
Gap.
Yeah, it's about 1/4 of an inch. When we look at it here, this is the amount it grows. You know, so you're going to see that, you know, in a lot of these places, and we just got to be more careful of it. Now, it's really important on the tip section. If when you fold up the pump and the tip section doesn't go back in the cradle, maybe it's growing too much, and we need to shorten up our makeup pipe maybe a few millimeters, 5 millimeters or
growing.
something.
I've had that happen where
It's
it's
growing and
Kick
the
the
tip
tip
section
section over.
pushes out.
grows the tip section long, so it doesn't.
Right.
grow.
So that was explained to me a long time ago by Mark Phipps. He's no longer with us. He passed away last year. A good friend of mine showed me that and taught me that. And he said, you know, you can get your tip section to fold up better if you shorten up that pipe. So we just shrunk that pipe.
Sometimes it's even just like 5 millimeters.
Yeah, it's not
a
much.
minimal amount.
But that growth causes, you know, the whole thing over the length of it to push it out.
So when we're all done here and we're about to fold, once we've torqued our pipe straps and everything else, and maybe I'm crazy, but what I like to do, I'll throw a big honking bucket of bentonite in the tip elbow, fill the hopper with water, and I'll put a sponge in, I'll suck the bentonite back, and I find the bentonite will displace the cavity in these gaskets. And then if we're ever on site and we're in a pinch, or even just doing service in the yard, when we go to remove the gaskets, instead of being filled with hard concrete grout, the majority of the time they're just filled with bentonite powder. I flip them inside out, give them a couple whacks, and it all falls out. I also like that for when we do our first prime with the new pipe kit. Any voids are filled up and taken up with the bentonite, rather than we go to our first prime, every one of those voids is robbing fines from the concrete and increasing the chances of possibly plugging.
Yeah, I mean, a new boom kit, since everything's not super, you know, grouted in or anything, they will leak. So you'll see a little bit of moisture drip out of some of the elbows. If it doesn't go away, you know, that morning, you might need to take some stuff apart and check it and make sure, you know, stuff's tight and everything. But generally, all those fines get into everywhere and seal things up. You get a little bit of dripping that first day.
First
we
pour
might be
out,
able to see some of the pipe growth here.
Oh.
So when you move that gasket over,
yeah. Do we have a flathead driver? Oh, we do have a flathead driver. We can chip that grout out just to kind of show the gap. Punch it out in spot.
that's the gap that's in between all the pipes. So if you're actually putting all these together and you're short on one end, you can loosen up all the clamps and kind of push the gasket over and use a bigger screwdriver and kind of work it in there and put it in a couple of the, you know, the 2 clamps on this section so that it automatically gaps it. So that'll allow it to grow toward that one side that you're a little short on. Again, it's a little pro tip, you know, that you guys can use, you know, if you're a little short on one side.
I want to make a dirty joke, but I won't. About being short on one side, I don't know. Cause Dan's here and he's a pretty straight shooter. He doesn't even swear. Doesn't even use curse words. So I gotta keep it squeaky clean.
Sneak out on occasion, but not me.
No, I honestly, I've never. Anybody who watches the channel, have you ever heard Dan swear? I think I've heard Maury swear once or twice.
Oh yeah, Maury is totally different.
And that's after I edit as much as I can. I still miss one or two here and there. Editing Maury like doubles my workload when I'm putting the videos together. Snag a part number off that 2-bolt clamp. This is the one without the bracket. There it is. You got the metal hammer, Dan? I'm just gonna tap. I'm just curious to see what the end looks like on this. I think we've replaced a couple of the tight radius 90s, or at least one of them we replaced.
I just loosened it to give us a little bit of freedom here. It's awesome. I just opened that.
Oh yeah, the liners.
Loosen that up a bit.
The liners down to nothing on the inside.
Just take that pipe out.
Let's see how these look.
Bring the second.
Yeah, liner's thin. Tough to tell without cleaning this one up, but it'll be thin on that end as well. I bet we could have got another year out of this kit from what I've seen so far. We'll go through it all when it's in the pile and see if there's anything that was really, really wild. Option A, option B. Yeah, you pry it, I'll whack it. Okay. Is that one pretty light?
That one's pretty light.
I'll drag it out of the way.
Good.
Here, Mike, I'll pull this pipe out of here. Yeah. There's the spiral pattern.
Yep.
See what the other end looks like. See if it's dished out or anything. Oh yeah. I don't know, the wear looks okay, but it does feel.
It's
does
the
feel
weight
light.
wise is pretty.
Yeah. The micrometer will tell us all we need to know, or most of what we need to know when we get to that point. Just put that beside this one, Mike.
Oh.
Just to compare. About 2 millimeters of material and a whole bunch more. So yeah. Yep.
You can see it's so square on this one too.
Yeah. Not awful, but probably could have run it another year or so and not slept great at night.
rotate it more. Rotate it more. Same one.
Now spin it back and
Yeah, right there.
or whatever. Yeah, either way.
Yeah, right there. Straighten it out a little bit more. You want this right
Shit,
here?
let me call you back 1 second, okay? Call you back.
You want this? Yeah. So you want this. Reason is, you see this side right here? You don't want that edge of the clamp sticking into the boom, just to keep it farther away. So don't twist it. You want it. Yeah, just like that.
Be off?
Oh, well, it's got to go up. There you go.
See how the gasket's pulled aside here? And it's not biting anything because it's a swivel gasket. It doesn't have the edges on it like a gravity gasket. So we can just kind of slide it right over. It doesn't grab anything and get our clamp in place.
Boom. It's funny, I usually have to oil the gaskets with like WD-40 or something, but these ones almost have like a film to them from new, where they're not grippy.
Well,
Dan's taking all the credit. Yeah. Or you just got to be.
They've all gone on like, no, these are good gaskets.
Yeah, because they're not that dry, grippy rubber, right?
I just like bugging you.
Yeah, I know. It's been 2 years now we've been making videos together. There's a pattern here.
Only 2 years, it feels like eternity.
It does, yeah, I know. Oh, you're pretty old, right? So, I mean...
It's all running together.
It's okay, you'll be retired in like 2 years and I'll be solo. It's all good.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Mike, do you think long term on a gasket like in this position here, you grease it up when you install, how long till that grease is gone? A couple pours and it's gone, honestly?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell. Well, we didn't get a good shot of this. I mean, you did probably in passing.
Yeah.
But it was definitely covered in grout and stuff, and the guys definitely had to chip it away a bit, you know, because it was covered on the outside.
Yeah, under pressure, that grease gets displaced very quickly, right?
Street flat
We
out.
should do that. We should do that. Put the pins in and get rid of this so we don't have to worry about going back there. The pins and or we left it up too high.
You know, some of them had grease zerks on them in the past, or, you know, some of them broke them off, you know, and they don't get any grease, and a lot of guys didn't grease them, so they won't take grease. These 2-bolt ones are going to be a little harder to take apart and grease.
Yeah.
Than the old snap clamps, you know, and on some of the Putzmeister booms, they had the pipe bracket came through here and it was a hard return here, so there was no space here. It had to be pretty tight.
Right.
And it's a little easier to deal with that at that point. But these are gonna have to beat off. And I mean, what I usually, when I was running equipment, I'd look for this to leak a little bit more. When I saw this leak or creaking and making noise and it sounded like it was coming from an area, that was also my indication to it's time to go in there and grease those and change those gaskets.
I find the tip swivel, we grease those all the time just because the hose will be doing this instead of doing this, right? So.
And it doesn't articulate. You feel, well, I used to feel bad for the hose man unless he was a jerk. And I'd want to, you know, keep that moving.
But
the hydraulic's going to push that, you know, so no matter what, you know, that sucker's moving.
Hose guys these days are a lot nicer than they used to be. The old school Italian and Portuguese guys that would just scream at you, literally threaten to kill you. Most of those guys have retired. Well, they're a lot more friendly than today's hose guy.
The more you yell, I think the more you push the hose. My thing is, you know, guys running equipment, whether it's a crane, dirt equipment, this concrete pump, you yell at me a little too much, you work harder all day, bro.
Oh, I just get frazzled. I fall apart when I get yelled at. Like it doesn't work.
Harder.
Yeah.
I'll move that tip the way it's nice. I make them push, you know, further. You know, by the end of the day, they won't be able to pick up their arms to beat my ass. So, you know, it's just, you know, a little kindness goes a long way. Everybody's having a, you know, a long day. Everybody's working hard.
I say the same with ready mix drivers. Yelling at them gets me nowhere. I'm gonna have to work with them forever anyhow. So once I yell at them now, they're not going to give me water. They're not going to give me retarder. They're not going to let me pump back into the mixer at the end of the day if I need to.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
My guys knew in the field if I was yelling, something's really, really wrong. Because I don't yell and I don't get excited. You know, I just kind of go with the flow. Because like you just said, a lot of these guys, you know, we want their help. We need their help. You know, they're helping us with different things. We may not see it all the time, like stealing some water from the mixer truck so I can go to my next job, so I don't have to fight for water. You know, there's a lot of little things these guys do for us. We may be irritated because there's a meter of concrete underneath our pump and everything's dirty, but you know, it happens, goes with the flow. Let's just, you know,
the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah.
It's not bad. We're about 2 hours in and one section to go. You know what I love? One of the modern innovations that I love is the horn. Well, and this one's not plugged in. When it works, what I love is the horn at the end of the boom.
Right.
Man, oh man, that is a nice feature to have. And why this is unplugged, I don't know. Probably got caught on a tree or something anyhow. We'll fix that up. But yeah, it's so much nicer when you're out at the end of the boom and the mixer driver is wailing on your horn because he's empty to actually be able to hear it. Have you noticed that your boom mounted horn has not been working, sir?
It shouldn't matter. But it shouldn't matter. If that's the ground, it shouldn't matter.
Oh, you think it's self-grounding? Well, let's find out. Let's find out, Dan. I'm gonna fire the remote up. We'll find out. I hope you're wrong. Just.
No. Not self-grounding.
What did I tell you, Mike? See?
It's not self-grounding.
Self-grounding.
Who said self-grounding?
Oh.
Why did you ever say that?
Oh. Okay, so what do we got, Mike? What's going on in here?
So we see a lot of cracking, you know, and it's everywhere. We see one crack running down the whole length of the pipe. I'm not too concerned about that. But on the front here, we have a lot of cracking all over the place. This is a problem because, again, these chunks could come out and it looks like maybe it got hit.
I was just gonna say, do you think it got hit?
But I don't, what I first look for is on the side of the pipe, I look for a U-bolt bracket or a pipe support bracket, and I really don't see
Now we do have
the sense of the pipe support is on the other side.
We do have, and this one was at the end of the end of the fourth section, so it's something that could have been knocked up against the crane mast.
Correct. So I mean, we see some marks that definitely look like it could have smacked into the building.
The marks
or
correspond.
red iron when we're booming into
The marks are at 12 o'clock, and the cracking is at, it is at 12 o'clock.
So
okay,
that's a good indication that that was some stress or these hammer marks or the spots here, you know, caused issues, because a lot of the damage is, you know, right here.
Right where all the
that
marks
crack propagated all the way down.
and it's definitely been rubbed before too, so interesting. Okay, so if you tap your pipe against the crane mast or something, even though it's not dented,
you can damage the inner liner.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. It cracked right where all the tap marks are.
Oh.
So don't hit twin wall pipe with a hammer. Oh, you did that the dumb way. We should have we should have spun it around. Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
down, Mike?
How are you?
So this is interesting. I feel as though I have 4 extra tangent elbows. This I should look into. Replace the 2 there. And we replaced 2 at the crossover. For a total of 4. But we have 8. Interesting. Okay. I think we maybe got more than we need. Oh well, we'll keep those in stock, but we will use them. We'll keep them in inventory for sure. Okay, I'll fill this hopper with water, and then we're gonna mix up a bucket of bentonite, and we'll suck it back. I'll get ahead of the game here while they're putting that last pipe on and the tip elbows. This is interesting. This Putzmeister spec tip clamp does not have the grease ports. I had a lot of feedback of guys swearing by greasing it every day. In doing so, the grease actually would get where you want it to.
No problem.
What's that?
Grease it every day. If you plug, even plugs, it comes out and swings, no problem.
No, but guys were saying if they grease it every day, the grease actually would get around and inside the gasket, which I could believe, but there has to be 4 grease nipples, and they grease all 4 at the end of every pour. That being said, I think the stuff we do where we're plugged into the line and you're pushing all that pressure, I think it will grout it up so bad there's no way grease would displace it anyhow. But it's interesting that clamp doesn't even have the grease nipples on it.
Or they've been knocked off.
No, there's not even holes for it.
You're sure, exactly right. I've seen so many of those knocked off.
Oh yeah. That's the hammer point, right? When you want to close the clamp?
Cracking it.
Does it?
Jason.
And that's not even, that's a newish elbow.
Grease.
Michael, let's talk about this.
All right, this one's got a crack.
Does it too?
This one's actually garbage.
Is it really?
Yeah, we're at
Yeah, these are like these elbows are, when did we replace these, Sid? 6 months ago at the most? Holy.
See all the cracks in this? The way it creates this little space here, this, you know, these little chunks, these will fall out. You know, once, if this end wears a little bit and we get ground underneath here, it'll just chunk it out. So this one's garbage, you know, and you
even
know,
this one, the way it's got the zigzag,
so,
I don't even know if I would play around with that.
So this crack is mostly linear, you know, running down there, so it didn't create any little islands of lining. So this elbow, you know, might be a good tip elbow to use temporarily, you know, as they wear super fast, because, you know, the crack mostly runs down the length of it. Whereas this one is cracked in such a way that, like I said, the lining pieces will chunk out of there.
Yeah, that's total junk. Now let's see, was there a, no, there's no distinct hammer mark there.
No?
No.
I mean, there's marks all over it, you know, from different stuff, but...
Huh, okay.
And sometimes the cracking happens because it's really hard to machine the liner that goes in there to match the shell. So if there's too much of an air gap in the lining and the shell, as soon as there's one plug, it expands and it'll break the liner inside there and cause it to crack. Sometimes it cracks in a straight line, that's okay. But if it cracks and shatters it like the one elbow, that's a problem. We would recommend, if you send me a picture of that and say, hey, what do you think about this? I'm gonna say throw it in the garbage, because it's gonna fail on you, and it's gonna fail somewhere where it's not.
You don't want it to fail.
Yeah. What are the chances, I think we might have stored those outside for some time, that water could have got in, which it shouldn't, between the liner and the body of the elbow and frozen and prematurely started cracking? There's no way it looked like that when it
I
went
don't
on.
think you have the temperature extremes here to do
No.
anything like that. And they fit actually fairly tight, you know, so, I mean, we're talking about air gaps in the hundredths of an inch.
Yeah.
You know, it could be, you know, what we found is that some twin wall that we're finding from offshore has got bigger air gaps in it, and the lining shatters a lot easier because of that gap in the
It's just
the
so
liner.
brittle. Well, we got it apart, Mike, for this is a common discussion. Swivel gasket. So we just greased it. There's talk of toilet ring wax, talk of shims and spacers. You guys have a new fancy, what is it, impregnated gasket?
Yeah,
Unfortunately, we couldn't get one today.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Like,
Like, oh, you have
See,
them?
I have like
we're
6
out of stock.
Oh, because Dan bought
Dan's-
them all.
Yeah, that's what it
I
sounds
use them
like.
on all my swivels.
Ah, you do. Okay.
So
Too bad.
I don't, you know, I tried a lot of these things when I was an operator. I think a lot of the toilet wax, everything like that, just messy, and it's not for me. I just grease the gasket and call it good, because, I mean, again, I was pumping in Vegas where it gets to be pretty hot, and all that stuff just turns to goo, you know, everywhere. So it wasn't for me. I'd rather just have a good gasket in there, fill it with grease in the inside, and it's also my indication when that sucker is full and everything to kind of check this, because this elbow starts to wear out on the space here. So when I take this off and take a look at it, I can look at that elbow to see if it's gonna wear a hole through there from the impact and leak on the hose man's head all day. So I just, I'd rather just do the whole thing and change the
I like
gasket.
what Darren from Frontenberger does, Frontenberger Pumping and Conveying on YouTube. He just pulls the elbow off at the end of every pour and cleans it and greases it and puts it back.
Yeah.
Every day.
No, I mean, it makes sure that everything's moving.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like, you know, I've seen some of the new Putzmeisters have 2 bolts here, you know, it's now a 2-bolt clamp. I do like the snap clamp, you know, so that you can get it to work, you know, so especially maybe it was articulating good yesterday, but it's got a bunch of grout in it today when I open up the boom and it won't unfold. So at least I can loosen it up, get it where I need it to be, and then take it apart, instead of, you know, trying to fight 2 bolts and get it all apart. I think this is faster to service, right? Dan? I think
would
than 2 bolts.
it be fair to say that a lot of people tend to overlook wear and tear on this clamp? If you watch when the pump is pumping, quite often that elbow, as it surges, it kicks every time, and it will wear that clamp out. The importance of replacing it every few years. A lot of people, I think, just let it get really sloppy. It's seen as a lifetime item. I find it to be a wear item, especially on the big pumps that are hammering down the mud. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the not changing a swivel gasket will actually cause the ends to wear funky and wear out the inside of the edge, you know, where the clamp engagement is. So we see that on a lot of turret elbows, because no one wants to go in there and change those gaskets. So all that is that grout just grinds and grinds on that metal and messes them up. Here, at least, where we should be able to inspect it, and I would hope most people, when they're looking at the ends of these elbows, are looking to see if they're getting mashed or mushroomed or anything else. If you see signs that the weld end is taking extra wear, then we need to suspect that clamp is too loose, it got stretched out, you know, it got smacked, something happened to it, and that this needs to be changed. So this is one of the few clamps I would say on this pump is a wear item, as well as the turret elbows, or turret clamps. Because again, nobody changes the gaskets on the turret. They leak and leak and leak because you don't see them.
Yeah.
And they get stressed out and wore out.
And then we've noticed the flange on the pipe and the turret will round out because the gasket's leaking, gets grouted up.
Right.
And the pipe might still have lots of meat to it, but the flange is rounded out. We end up changing the pipe.
And so
'cause of the
one good
flange.
plug, when the edges of this are, it'll wear this edge here, so it'll have a funky wear here. So one good plug and that clamp just pulls right off of it, because it's now sloped. You know, it's got an angle here instead of a hard edge.
In the worst spot possible in the middle of a pour.
Exactly. So you're leaking concrete all
over
your
the
survival
transmission,
box and
right on the transmission.
and everything. There's no room to work in there, as you guys all know. The pump pressure just shoved it 1/4 of an inch, half an inch too far out of the way. You can't get it back
Push
together.
your deck pipe back.
Yeah,
like
it
it's a
just
mess.
moved everything. So you're not going back together in any timely manner.
So if we were, speaking of deck pipe, if we were doing deck pipe and pedestal, which we're not. The pedestal, I'll insert the link. We did that in a video a couple months ago. The deck pipe we've checked, and it's still pretty good. We'll probably touch on that in about a year. We'll get on the deck pipe. Would that affect recommendations for the order in which we did this? Would you start with the deck pipe first, the boom first? What would you? What's typical, if there's such a thing? What's typical?
It never really mattered to me as long as we're doing a steady progression. When we saw Dan and the guys get up on the boom, we started at the turret and we worked our way, to conclusion. So, we just want to work in a straight line. If we started there and went all the way and then we decided we're going to work in the turret later, great. As long as we're working in that progression, because our pipe isn't getting all out of whack, and out of position. So this is all about picking a starting point and working. Some guy, when we do the back end, the guys will just change the pieces, like I said, change them out one at a time and just work in that direction. If you change all the deck and we run out of time because we're doing this at the end of the day and everybody's done with, or it's too hot out, too cold out, great. We did it in a progression to there. We have another spot we can start at. We could change it all the way to the turret, stop, and we know that's horrible, and one of the smaller guys, not me or Dan, a taller guy, get inside the turret. We're gonna get a smaller guy, when he's in the shop to help us with that stuff. So, we do it to that point.
Send in the bowl.
We go on the other side, change it, and we just leave that section. Then we come back, with extra help.
Is it ironic that the guy that goes in the turret is probably quite often the lowest paid guy on the totem pole?
Oh,
the turret rat.
Yeah.
It's an entry-level position. It really. That's where you prove your worth in concrete pumping.
Yeah, it's definitely
400-foot line jobs and climbing inside the turret.
Yeah.
So Sid's mixing up a bucket of bentonite. We've filled the hopper with water just so we've got sufficient vacuum.
That's proof. That's proof right there that I think some of the diesel exhaust has been leaking in the cabs of the MJ operators. And we're not really we're a little suspect.
But I just like it as to pre-fill all the voids. And when we do our first prime with the boom kit, even when we get a brand new pump, before we take out for the first prime, we'll blow a bit of bentonite through just to fill up all those voids.
One thing a lot of guys use bentonite. Bentonite is not safe for concrete.
No.
Period. There is no safe amount of bentonite in concrete, and it will mess up the structural integrity of concrete. So whenever you're using bentonite in any way, you want to make sure it's clear, of your boom when you prime out with it, or you're doing something like this. When they do this, they're going to prime out and push all that stuff, any residual liquid or anything on the ground before they start pouring. So, in something like this, it should be just fine. But bentonite is not safe for concrete, so just be careful.
It's almost like the other one is sucking sugar back through the boom if you put it in front of your sponge. And we've had it with our finishing crew because we do a lot of architectural work. When the guy goes to prime the next day, sometimes the first bit of mud through the boom will actually not set because of the sugar residue in the pipe. It may sound silly, but yeah, honestly, that first wheelbarrow of concrete can sometimes not be suitable to be put into finished or structural areas. And I would say the same thing goes for the bentonite, like Mike is saying too. But yeah, very important point. I've mentioned it in my videos a few times. We use bentonite a lot. But yeah, it cannot get into anything structural or finished. It is mud, and it will remain like mud forever and turn concrete that it comes into contact with into a semi-mud-like product as well, which is not good and can get really expensive and not in a good way. So, okay, almost ready. Okay, here we go. Bentonite in.
That was a birth.
Was it?
Yeah.
And sponge. Close. Give me my camera back. It'll work. You got the Midas touch. Everything you touches it just works. Like, you've really never seen this before?
I've never seen anybody put bentonite in after we're done.
that pipe.
Only in Canada, Western Canada.
I'll put it in my only in Canada list.
Dan, you've never done this?
I've never done this.
You're welcome. That's good. So we don't have any real significant gaps or leaks or. Mike, do you know to tell when the sponge is back?
Yeah, I was gonna.
When it comes out the other end, and
Only because you watch my YouTube videos. No.
Well, yeah.
he taught you.
Well, yeah. No, I was actually gonna say, you know, you can hear a difference.
Sound of the ocean. Or you can go Darth Vader style with it, the blue guy and your father. That'll do it too. We're home, sir. We're home. Beautiful. Like that. Now we'll put that back together before we stretch the boom out and fold it back in, because I don't want any possible movement in the pipeline. So how fast can I put this back together? Round two. Okay, so now we'll stretch the boom right out, suck it all the way back in, drop it in the cradle, and then we'll torque the pipe straps. Does that sound about right?
Huh?
And I like to do that so the pipes can move around and settle in place to an extent.
I do like, you know, your thoughts there, you know, because, you know, all this stuff kind of moves and flexes as the boom opens and closes,
yeah,
and acts differently. So yes, I think that's a really great idea, that, you know, of doing it that way.
And that's why we left the pipe straps loose, so those pipes can move around within the straps. They can move fore and aft and kind of find their happy place. Yeah, so he'll just stretch it out, suck it back in, drop it in the cradle, then we'll go over torquing the pipe straps. Okay, here's the numbers. What is the torque spec, Mike?
So on a Putzmeister bracket, on this truck that we pulled this information from, it's 35 Newton meters or 26 foot-pounds to tighten up that nut on the bracket.
That's actually more than I thought it would be. They didn't say anything about having to pre-lube the threads or anything. I mean, you just assume your threads are clean and not damaged, right?
Usually when Putzmeister has something important, you know, it puts a little eye there and, you know, to look for information, and it's saying, you know, number 6, 35 Newton meters, you know, for a torque spec. You know, if it talks about something special, they usually do something, you know, to tell you to do something different.
I'm surprised it's 26. I remember back in the day, I swear it was like 15, 16. Oh, there's the swing one. Okay.
Now the swing one's a lot more complicated with the U-bolt, and they've got the plastic spacer here. They've got a lock nut on the top and bottom. And when we look here, it says place the strip holder, you know, into place. Tighten the self-locking nuts only, A. You're going to tighten them alternately, so you're going to go back and forth. So 50 plus or minus 10 Newton meters, you know, to tighten the bottom nut. And then you're going to go up on the top, and this is something that I've never done before, is you counter torque from here down, and you do that to 30, you know, plus. So
it's not just a simple like muffler clamp style U-bracket. It's got nuts on both sides.
Right, and I've always seen the nuts on both sides. Sometimes, you know, they've been removed, you know, when we've lost them, you know, never put them back in. But there's actually a torque spec on both sides.
It sounds like a PIA compared to just the strap type.
Oh yeah. And this is a lot easier to mess up, where guys will hit this with an impact gun and tighten these up too much, and basically they put too much pressure on it here and break the liner inside.
Oh yeah.
So again, when I see the pipes messed up and the guys are yelling at me, and I see where the strap was, and I see that that's where the damage started, this is a good indicator that it was over tight.
So we're gonna start. We started at the front, right? Same way we repipe the boom, start at the front, work all the way back.
I got a fun game. You guys should all go through and see if who hand torques closest to 28, and whoever doesn't do it has to buy you guys lunch.
26, sir.
26.
So you're already wrong. I can tell you. You know what? I can tell you on one. I'll do it. I'll do it with a regular 3/8 ratchet, and I will get it so close. I will get it so close.
Make the bet with Dan right now.
Okay. Okay. Dan, you want to do something fun?
Probably not.
You and I with a hand ratchet. We're gonna see who can get closest to 26 foot-pounds, and Sid will come behind with a torque wrench. Closest without going over, because going over might break the pipe. Come on, we'll each do one strap.
This is what I'm worried about with Scott. He thinks this stuff's fun and cool.
Well, it's all fun and cool until the pipe goes snap, crackle, pop. Okay, official rules. I'll go first. I'm gonna do this bolt, Dan's gonna do that one. You can film me when I go. When Sid comes behind with a torque wrench, and now it's closest without going over, we're going to calculate how many degrees he has to turn that torque wrench before we reach the spec torque of 26 foot-pounds. That'll be the indicator. Okay. I would have preferred a 3/8 drive ratchet, but you know. That's about 10. Oh no, you know, no, it hasn't been in yet. Okay, we're about 10 now, getting up into the high teens. Maybe we're about 20 there. 22, 23. No, you know what? The threads are a little dirty here. It just keeps going. Okay, there you go, 26. This will throw him off. He's got an important phone call. We'll let Dan tighten his up first, then we'll come behind here. Okay, Dan, let's see what you can do.
Let's see how tight I can get it. Right there. Done?
Really? That's it? I feel like I had a bird thread or something on mine. Oh, no, I don't want to
No, I'm just gonna give it a little pull on here.
I shouldn't have said anything.
No, I'm happy with that.
And it's closest without going over. So that Dan basically just bet $1 is what he did there. $1. There's no way he's over. Okay, so let's see what we got.
It might be over.
We'll start at 6 o'clock and we'll see.
Well, you gotta turn it the right way. It would be helpful.
No, I'm trying to get just that one click right
I see.
there.
Fair enough. I apologize.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
There.
Oh! So
that looks like
1 hour on the
5
clock.
o'clock. Yeah.
yeah, we went from 6 to 5. I don't know what that is in degrees. Okay. And Dan, you're done, Dan. There's no. You're way too loose.
There. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Oh,
he's too tight!
You nailed it.
No, he's too tight.
No.
It didn't move at all.
You nailed it.
No, but it didn't move.
Oh, okay.
But it
Back
didn't
it
move.
off. Yeah, it didn't move.
I say to make sure that he wasn't bang on, we back it off 1/8 of a turn, and if it's still too tight, like the tiniest little bit, the tiniest bit.
So I want to turn it. So here,
Back a touch.
Yeah, go back just a little hair.
like half an hour.
That much, there. You're done. Now, if it still clicks, you were too high.
Yeah.
Ah, you were over.
I'm gonna buy him lunch.
Man, last week I win the NHL 2015 title belt from this guy. Today I beat you on the torque challenge. What would you like to say? Ah, I'm pretty awesome.
You're awesome. You're the winner. I'm the loser.
Oh man. Now we better make sure that Dan didn't damage the pipe. So here's our pile of elbows that came off. We had the one that was shattered. Let's see if we have anything else that's. So those are the tip elbows there. Another cracked one there. Horizontal crack there. Not too bad. Not too bad. A little bit of growth, no big deal.
All right, so what I generally do is we're gonna look at the mouth of this and see if anything looks smaller where it's wearing, you know, on this side or this side. as the concrete's going through. It looks fairly symmetrical. So, you know, there's nothing here glaring at me. We're gonna measure just inside the weld end, just inside this insert, in here, you know, to check it. I don't know what the data is for this to start or finish, so, or, you know, when it's end of life, but we're just gonna reach inside here and measure, and it's gonna show 9.235 millimeters.
There's still a lot of meat on those.
Okay, I check it like a compass, north, south, east, and west. What does that one say?
7.5 there.
Okay, so we can see definitely a change. Let's try here.
8.5.
And if we check the bottom of this,
8.2. Okay.
so this is our thicker, this was the thinnest. That's the number we're gonna register, you know, for the minimum thickness. Or
does the other side look visibly much different? No. I think we actually picked a pretty good elbow. So this has still got a lot of meat in it.
Right.
This is still pretty good. Okay. And just out of curiosity, a brand new, and this is a ConForms, so it's a different brand. It's not apples to apples. But I'm curious how thick a brand new one would be. There's Sid's knife.
So if we measure this one, 10.6, should measure about the same.
Yep, 10.5. Yeah. Okay.
So
I guess my concern with those ones that were relatively beefy still, there was some wear at the ends. To mate that up to a new pipe, it's gonna hog out that pipe right away, isn't it?
ID changes.
Yeah.
Like I said, the boundary layer, when it's going through, it's gonna go through one diameter, and then it's gonna open up a touch there.
Yeah.
So it's gonna tumble. So that will, the wear on that will accelerate, and when it tumbles, it has a tendency to mess up whatever it's connected to.
So it'll take out
so
that new
the
pipe
end
with
on
it.
the new pipe and the old pipe will wear, you know, funky too.
I'm surprised how thick those still were. Okay, we'll go look at our boom pipes and see what we got. Okay, looking right now, one that is of some interest to me is gonna be this pipe. Looks pretty dished out. Should we go in the sun where we get some light? Let's go where we get some light. Looks like there's some stuff going on in there. How thick will this measure out?
Now, I like to measure this stuff in millimeters, even if I'm not in Canada, because the millimeters are easier to remember.
Yeah,
You know,
rather
and
than
all the
fractions
math,
of an
instead
inch.
of 0.1 whatever.
Yeah.
So we check this one.
Oh, I think you're still on the flange. Yeah, there we go. 3.8. That's still thick. Wow.
Okay, let's check here.
Are you still on the flange? 3.5. 3.8. 3.8. Wow. Other end?
And it looks like last time you checked it, it was
3.9. Yeah. 3.6. 3.9.
A little lower there, a little high.
Okay.
3.7. 3.8. Yeah.
Let's go back. Dan mentioned we might be a little high on that one.
Wow. Okay.
Let's check this real quick.
Lots of meat still. Okay.
So the shell on this should be around, you know, 1.6 millimeters. So if it's 3.8, we still got about 2 millimeters of life left in it. So what makes twin wall different than single wall is that the inner liner is through hardened. Every single portion of a millimeter is the same hardness. So that's why it wears so much better. So while we're wearing it, it's the same hardness the whole time. So we should see fairly linear wear, you know, over time, except for, you know, high speed, high pressure will wear it faster. So we do have some life left in this pipe. If it was single wall pipe, the inside of the pipe is super hard and it gets softer as we wear it. so the wear will accelerate over time.
Like
so
exponentially.
right, and it's done that way because if we heat treat it through hardened, it becomes brittle. And again, with this being through hardened, it's brittle, therefore it has a shell on it to help protect it and maintain pressure.
Okay, so the shell is like your structure.
The
hardening
shell
liner is
protects
your
it.
wear surface.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and find the crappiest pipe in the pile. Is there anything that's awful looking? I thought that was going to be the one.
I don't think.
Oh, you know what? That one that was passing through the boom, I think will be. Did we see any pipes that were really? This one's got some good cracking in it. E1. Oh, that's the one we were looking at. E1.
I don't think the cracking is what we're really worried about. I mean, unless it's.
Yeah, I think our worst.
If it's spidered
The worst
everywhere.
pipe is that one and this one. So we'll check these. Oh yeah, this one's got some stuff going on inside.
Okay.
That one on the end there.
It's got some pock marks in the middle. It looks good on the ends. But we'll take this one and then we'll try the. I'll try the one that passed through the boom.
Oh, the first one, not the outlet.
Yeah, not the. Yeah, the first one on the.
But this one is heavy. I almost. Is it a deck pipe?
No.
No.
No, because the deck pipe, since it's fatter, you know, will have a larger profile here with the weld end than it does for the structure of the weld end, not to the end itself. And this is, you know, you can see it steps down quite a bit, so it is boom pipe.
Okay. So what do we get for a measurement, Mike? What do we got? I was really hoping for something that would make me go, oh, I'm glad we got that when we did, but I haven't, other than the elbows.
379.
3.8. 3.9. 4. Wow.
Yeah.
But I swear that pipe feels heavier for the length.
With my pipe, with the shell at 1.6, we want a 0.5 millimeter on the inner liner. So basically at 2.1-ish is when the end of life is, you know, for our pipe. And you know, this isn't ours, but at 2.1 is our minimum.
What do we get out of this guy here? Still 3.8. Well, they measured at 4.2 at some point. 3.8. 3.6. And I think this stuff new for us measures like 4.5.
No, it's got to be more.
It's got to be more than that.
Is it more?
It's gonna be 2.8.
Because I think it's a 2+2 pipe. I believe. I could be wrong, but I think it's a 2+2, and then paint.
Then that's 4.
Yeah, and then paint.
Your paint's not 0.5 millimeter thick.
No?
I don't think. I mean, we can scratch the paint off it and see how much difference it makes, you know. But I don't think we're gonna see that much.
Interesting.
So I'm imagining this is 2.8 plus 1.6, so it's gonna be 3.8, 4.4 new.
Okay.
Ish.
Okay. Let me gouge it. I'm just curious now about the paint. I'll grab a screwdriver. I'll scratch it off. You're definitely right. That paint is like paper thin. Oh, it's almost nothing.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a slight change.
0.2?
But you know,
Yeah,
it's
0.2.
Okay.
But even if we measured it with paint and we get down to our minimum levels, we might have this much, you know,
yeah, you don't want to
thickness
start
that we're
factoring
adding.
that in.
We're we're good. So you know, let's say our minimum measurement was 2 millimeters. Let's say it's 2, you know, and it measures at 2.1 or 2. You know, it's close enough.
Yeah.
You know, that we probably should pull it, you know, because, you know, again, we have the paint thickness, maybe there's a little concrete film inside, you know, we want to protect against all that. I have quite a few guys that'll go, you know what, I know 2 millimeters might be the magic number, and we're just making that number up right now, 2 millimeters. So I pull them at 2.3 millimeters,
Right.
You know, because I want to make sure I'm okay, you know, and that I'm safe.
We're more like well, we have been like 2.5, but
Yeah, 2.5.
or
again.
or 3.8 in this case.
Well, I mean, this stuff's been on for quite some time, and you worry about it, you know, because it's been on there a long time, and it's got quite a few meters.
I think the testament to all this is that a smaller boom that's not hammering out high volume, 60,000 meters, and this, for the most part, this pipe is still heavy. We had one that blew prematurely. We had those pair of tip elbows that we put on after the fact because the first 2 tip elbows had done the same thing after some meterage through them. But aside from that, this stuff held up pretty good. But in higher yardage applications, you might get an extra 10,000 meters and it's down to 2.5 or even 2 mils thick. So I think it just speaks a lot to pumping high volume at a high rate versus what that pump does. Speed kills.
Speed and pressure kill pipe. And it's only getting worse because, you know, we're running out of places where we get natural sand. So manufactured sand pumps harder, higher pressure. You know, manufactured rock pumps harsher and higher pressure. You know, fly ash. There's grades of fly ash that are slicker than others when it's wet, you know, and some of it's a little more coarse. It's hard to feel, but they grade it that way. So, you know, we're getting not as good a fly ash. Sometimes we're using slag, ground up, you know, welding slag, you know, and metal slag, you know, as a filler. So a lot of these, you know, we're losing cement in mixes and they're adding chemicals, you know, to make them stronger. So, you know, with all the technology changes and crushing aggregate and making sand, it's just going to lower the life of the pipe, you know, where you just used to get 80,000, now it's 70, now it's 65.
Well, I felt like our material here has gotten a lot more coarse lately in terms of sand and the aggregates that we're getting. I mean, it's still butter compared to a lot of markets, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed pressures go up in the last number of years.
But you get markets like Georgia, I hear, is a tough one, where they're 30,000 meters to a set of heavy pipe.
My customers in Utah and Arizona, if they get 35,000 yards through a set of twin wall, they're happy.
Yeah.
You know, and 35,000 is what, about 24,000 meters? You know, I mean, you guys get 24,000 meters, you're blowing up my phone and telling me, you know, everything's
garbage.
The start of the video, I said we expect 100,000 through that endurance pipe. Endurance, right? 325/endurance. And as you can see here, there's 60,000 through this stuff, and it's still got plenty of meat. But like I said, I'm glad we did it. Usually that pump is out every day. It's our busiest pump. We finally got a little bit of a slow time in the last couple weeks here, which is funny enough, the times when you really don't want to spend money, but it's the best time to spend it. Pipe's been done. We can have peace of mind and be worry-free. Obviously doing our regular pipe checks and keeping up on things, but confident that we should not have any surprises, and we know what's on that pump now, and it's taken care of.
You know, and it's nice to see, like I said, you know, we've got some guidelines here, you know, 4.2 and things like that. So, you know, you can see that you guys have been doing your checks, and I really respect that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we got this done, and big thanks to Mike for coming out and showing us, sharing some of his knowledge and wisdom. And this will make a heck of a video. It's going to be really long. I don't know how we're going to split this up. It might be a 6-part Netflix series. The part where Dan and I did the torque wrench challenge, it'll be a video in itself, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, perfect. Okay, well, we're all set.
We just saw that Dan's got bigger guns that he couldn't tell that torque's back.
It's the hands. He just it was effortless. It was absolutely amazing. So yeah, like I said, we'll put this on a pallet, stash it away. If we ever, I don't even like to talk about pipe parties and boom parties, but if ever such an event occurs, it's always good to have an extra set in a pinch that you can toss back on the machine and get it back out the next day. But that will never happen. We're only getting into summer. What could go wrong, right? Never happens. So yeah, anyhow, you know, goes, keep on pumping, and thanks for watching. Over and out. Ask me how much that one non-symmetrical, not straight up and down like the other clamps, drives me crazy. Oh, well, there's another one there. But yeah, we'll just take a rag and some degreaser, and we'll wipe these down. There it is. Fully repiped.